If you've ever looked at a shiny new luxury badge and thought, that has to be safer, more reliable, worth the extra money, then this is going to hit you harder than you expect. What if I told you the people who know cars better than anyone, the ones who see them gutted on lifts every single day, almost never put their own money on those prestige brands? I didn't poll car reviewers who get loaned vehicles for a weekend. I didn't talk to brand ambassadors or people still glowing from the showroom smell. I went straight to the source, dozens of professional mechanics across Europe and the United States. Guys and women who've spent decades elbow deep in engines, transmissions, and wiring harnesses long after the warranty clock stops ticking. I asked them one straightforward, no BS question. If reliability was everything, if you had to spend your own hard-earned cash and keep the car for the next 10, 15, maybe 20 years, what would you actually drive? The answers came back like echoes in an empty garage. Not one of them said BMW. Not one said Audi. Not one said Mercedes. Not a single German premium badge in their personal driveways. These aren't hot takes or internet opinions. These are choices made by people who witnessed the real endgame. Stretched timing chains at 120,000 miles, turbo failures that leave owners stranded, electronic gremlins that turn a $500 part into a $4,000 nightmare. They see the cars that quietly endure, and the ones that quietly bankrupt people. And the pattern, it's impossible to ignore once you hear it. They don't chase flash. They don't chase prestige. They chase cars engineered to survive ordinary life. Neglect, short trips, cold mornings, irregular oil changes, without turning every drive into a gamble with your savings. By the time this video ends, you'll understand exactly why those prestige brands stay out of their garages. You'll see the everyday machines they trust instead. And you'll walk away with one simple truth that could save you thousands before you ever sign on the dotted line. Let's begin with the car that keeps surfacing when the talk turns personal, when mechanics stop recommending and start admitting what they actually own. Imagine a busy workshop in Colorado. Tools clanging, air compressor hissing in the background. The owner wipes his hands on a rag and leans against a workbench. He's been fixing cars for 25 years. Customers keep asking him about the latest fancy automatics. He just shakes his head. I replace CVTs and dual clutch units every single week, he says. One fails, the bill starts at $3,000 and climbs fast. Sometimes the whole unit gets swapped. Tow truck, rental car, lost time. My Honda Civic with the 1.5-liter and the manual gearbox? Clutch wears out eventually. Costs me about $350. I do it myself over a weekend. Done. Back on the road. That's not sentimentality talking. That's pure, cold mathematics. Mechanics live in a world where complexity equals risk. Modern automatics promise smoothness until they don't. Then they become black holes for money and time. A manual? It's honest. Wear is visible. Replacement is straightforward. No hidden electronics waiting to cascade into disaster. And the Civic doesn't just survive. It ages gracefully in ways that matter. Push one past 200,000 miles and the interior still feels solid. Door panels don't rattle loose. Buttons and switches keep their crisp click. The infotainment never becomes the car's Achilles heel because the design never handed over control to screens and software for basic functions. Thick A-pillars and swooping dashboards in newer cars? They turn tight parking spots into frustration. This Civic's visibility stays clear, almost old-school generous. Daily driving never feels compromised. No nagging worry in the back of your mind. What's going to fail next month and cost me a mortgage payment? That absence of anxiety is rare. It's why so many mechanics quietly park one of these in their own driveway instead of just pointing customers toward it. They've seen enough regret, they choose calm. But what happens when a mechanic wants more than a sedan? When they need space for tools, family, weekend gear, without opening the door to premium-level headaches? The conversation often lands here. The Mazda CX-30 with the naturally aspirated 2.0-liter engine. Not the turbo version you see in ads. The quiet one. I spoke with a Mazda specialist who spent years deep in their systems. He didn't mince words. This engine feels like the last echo of 1990s Toyota engineering, he told me. Back when the goal was longevity, not headline horsepower numbers on a brochure. Low stress, simple breathing, built to run forever without drama. No turbocharger forcing extra heat and pressure into components that eventually crack. No cylinder deactivation systems quietly wearing unevenly over time. No direct injection setup that slowly builds carbon on intake valves until you're paying hundreds for a walnut blast cleaning, or worse, facing bigger engine issues down the line. Just an engine that does its job modestly and keeps doing it, mile after mile. You see the difference in the workshop. Premium crossovers roll in regularly for timing chain rattles, turbo replacements, transmission diagnostics. The CX-30? It shows up for routine stuff, oil, filters, brakes, tires. Reliability data quietly confirms it. Naturally aspirated Mazdas in this class suffer dramatically fewer major drivetrain catastrophes than the segment norm. The ownership picture gets even clearer. Mazda stands behind it with strong warranty terms in most markets. Depreciation is slower than many rivals. More of your money stays in the car instead of evaporating the moment the factory coverage ends. Unexpected repairs? Rare enough that owners start to forget what a big bill feels like. This isn't a car you buy to turn heads at the office. It's the one you buy when you've already learned that turning heads costs more than most people admit. Now we come to a car that barely registers in enthusiast circles. Yet it keeps appearing in these private conversations with mechanics. Picture a mechanic in southern Germany. He pulls out his phone during a quiet moment in the bay and scrolls to his personal service log. 150,000 kilometers, he says. Look, oil changes, brake pads, tires, filters. That's it. No dashboard lighting up like a Christmas tree. No random electrical faults. No surprise visits to the shop. He didn't choose the Hyundai i30 with the 1.6-liter naturally aspirated engine and manual transmission because it's thrilling. He chose it because it refuses to create theater. No turbo waiting to spin up heat and eventual failure. No direct injection quietly poisoning the intake over time. No finicky emissions hardware that clogs or complains on short city runs. The manual gearbox? It wears gradually. When the clutch eventually needs attention, the cost is known, reasonable, and doesn't threaten the family budget. Step inside and the philosophy continues. Physical knobs and buttons for climate control and essentials. No burying simple functions behind layers of touchscreen menus that can glitch or freeze. When a component finally gives up, it tends to do so in isolation. No chain reaction of warning codes paralyzing the whole vehicle. It's not a car that demands admiration. It's a car that demands almost nothing at all. And after a lifetime spent untangling other people's mechanical nightmares, that kind of restraint feels like freedom. And then there's the final one the car mechanics describe with a kind of quiet shrug, as if the answer is too obvious to need explaining. A workshop owner in Spain leans back in his chair and tells the story like it's no big deal. I sold my previous car and needed something temporary, he says. Picked up the Honda Jazz with the 1.5 VTEC and manual box. That was 7 years ago. Still sitting outside my house. Still starts every morning. Still boringly perfect. This unassuming hatchback endures the kind of real-world punishment that breaks far more sophisticated machines. Short trips that never let the engine fully warm up. Cold starts in winter. Stop-and-go urban crawl. The occasional skip service when life gets busy. Conditions that accelerate where in turbocharged or heavily emissions-laden engines seem to slide right off this one. The power plant is kept deliberately gentle, no forced induction pushing components to their limits, no complex after-treatment systems fighting against the way people actually drive. The manual transmission adds another layer of predictability, where accumulates slowly, visibly, affordably. Repairs never feel disproportionate to what the car is worth. Time passes. Paint fades a little, seats get that lived-in shine, but the critical systems hold steady. The interior doesn't crumble. Electrical issues stay uncommon. No sudden cascade of problems turning a simple commute into a crisis. Mechanics don't rush to replace it. They look at the odometer climbing, the service book staying thin, and they think the same thing, why would I? It just keeps delivering calmly, quietly, cheaply. So look at what we've uncovered. For cars, 0 luxury badges, 1 unbreakable pattern. Mechanics aren't swayed by marketing gloss. They don't confuse complexity with advancement. They've seen too much. They choose outcomes instead. Engines that don't stress themselves to death. Drivetrains that don't hide future bills. Ownership that lets you sleep at night instead of wondering what surprise is coming next. Complexity sells beautifully on TV and online. It looks like progress, feels like status. But when that complexity fails, and history shows it usually does, who pays the price? Not the copywriters who wrote the ads. Not the engineers who chased emissions targets or performance graphs. You do. The owner left holding the invoice. Next time you stand in a showroom or scroll through listings, ask yourself the question these mechanics live by. If this was my money, if I had to live with it through thick and thin, would I trust it? That single shift in perspective changes everything. Drop a comment below and tell me, which of these cars surprised you the most? Or share your own story. What bulletproof car did you buy? Only to learn the hard way it wasn't? If you want more videos that cut through the hype, more real talk based on what actually survives the long haul, not what sells in 30-second spots, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your future drives and your bank balance will thank you.